Alright, I'll do some more, seeing as Nick's just missed this. There's one last thing that's occurred to me looking at this, which is actually that, compare this to the equivalents in the Netherlands, and there's one major thing missing, and that is any pedestrian facility whatsoever. So the nearest pedestrian facilities to this, well, the college is over there. There's actually no pedestrian crossing across that road to and from that college. So if you're coming from that college, you have to walk along this pavement. You might get down there. There's then a zebra crossing in the distance down that way, and down over there there's a signalised crossing in the distance, which you can maybe just about make out. That's it. There's nothing at the junction. Now, in part, that makes it harder to have the spacing that makes it possible to get people to give way to people on bikes. But also, it just means this is a very, very motor-dominated environment. Yeah, this is your classic urban motorway style stuff. And in fact, you can see there are two info nerds in the distance doing exactly what I'm doing. So clearly, it's a popular thing. Come down to Bromley, see the roundabout, enjoy the sights. But yeah, so just to recap, Nick. So this is the outside lane. I've measured. It's 2 meters wide. The angular lane, it's the inner one that's actually going round, lets you take the turns. That's 1.5 meters wide. And generally speaking, people who are doing anything other than a turn left, ignore it. I tried that across the far distance junction there. It was really not pleasant. It was incredibly slow. I wouldn't blame anyone for staying on the road here. On the other hand, I can imagine that all of the people in these cars who are getting stuck in an increasing traffic jam as the day goes by at this point, that's growing that kind of tail. They're probably thinking, bloody cyclists not using this segregation. This was expensive, and to an extent we sympathise with that view. I do, because you know what, they're sort of right, but they're showing their anger at the wrong people. If we built this kind of thing properly, then A, that queue would be shorter because people might be using other modes of transport, and B, you know what, this would be a nicer area. There'd be more people on bike. There'd be all kinds of. They would be thinking about this in a very different way. Their perception of it would absolutely shift. But as it is, it's a bodge. On the other hand, for the 90s, it's really impressive. But the other thing that occurred to me looking at this is, hang on a minute. Transport for London went to all the hassle of building a test roundabout, in the Transport Research Laboratory. Why did they do that? When this exists, when other things that aren't that dissimilar do exist elsewhere, did they actually need to do a test? Those trials haven't even completed. But if we were once able to just go and chuck something like this out, and given what they're going to be building, in Crystal Palace soon enough, why not just build it? Why do we have this slightly odd fascination for trials where it comes to cycling at the moment, where things do therefore take a little bit longer? And yet, when it came down to it on the superhighways, they knew they couldn't trial them really beyond the basic principles, and they've had to just build them. Is that slowing us down a bit? Has anyone actually, in terms of who looked at London Cycle Design Standards, been down to this and looked at it? I'd be amazed if Brian Degenau didn't know about it. But maybe it's just considered such a failure that there's nothing to be learned from it. Maybe this is just so ineffective there's no point. Who knows? Anyway, I'm kind of nearing a nice little wrap-up point again, so hopefully Nick's remembered to kind of join, otherwise he's going to be cursing now I stop again. But I'm going to take some proper photos now. Oh, but Daryl's on now. Alright, Daryl, you get at least a minute of this. Okay, so here we are at the Bromley roundabout in all of its wonder. As you can see, we're now into the midpoint of the day where actually the traffic's building up. It's 2-lane entry and 1-lane exit. What people are actually trying to do is run it as 2-lane entry and 2-lane exit because everyone really wants to go to Bromley. Who wouldn't? Actually, it's quite nice. Maybe because they've moved a chunk of traffic from the centre of it. But you look at this. This is actually also a really key route for emergency services. So this fire engine actually we saw coming out earlier, all of about 20-25 minutes ago. I'm going to point out to you in a second, fire engines are probably one of the few public service vehicles at the moment that still have cyclists stay back signs on them. It does actually have an audible warning moment saying caution turning left, but in this case that cyclist has this lovely segregated lane to go through to avoid it all. generally speaking, people only use the segregation to do the free left turn, i.e. to go through without taking over a junction. Because the path over the junction is not that pleasant. Actually, let's leave the fact that I am mobile and I'll move a bit closer. But yeah, you can see your chances of priority at this point are slim. And indeed, you don't really have it. In theory, you have it over this traffic coming out of this 2-lane here. In reality, almost no one's ever seen a cyclist going around here. I certainly felt like I was something of an oddity doing that, so they're not really used to it. But these lanes here on the annular, they're about 1.5 metres wide. This lane here on the left, that's 2 metres. So it's 2 metres on the left, 1.5 metres on the right. Really wide entries, so that you could join from the main flow of the roundabout. And that's part of the trouble here. They've really dual networked this as far as they can. This is designed for all possible users, and in a way, therefore, doesn't really suit any of them. But also, you can see here that the island they put on there, they purposely left a gap. And in every case, it's been painted over. So you can see on the far side there, but certainly there, you can see it's painted over. And that's not a surprise, because clearly, at some point, someone would have seen that gap, used it for something unfortunate would have happened. Possibly a really minor collision. But this just fails in terms of the kind of Dutch principles of sustainable safety in all kinds of ways, in all kinds of places. And in that respect, it's incredibly disappointing. We've got to hope we don't get anything this bad again. Anyway, I'm getting more and more strange looks. Which of course you do, really, if you're going to stand on a roundabout and hold a phone. So I think it's time to get the big camera out and stop. Cheers.